The first thing I would say is doubt is not a dead end. It's in fact a signal. In my experience working with people, almost always I've observed that feeling stuck means something is about to shift. The problem is this uncertainty is often interpreted by us as failure. And what keeps us stuck in a situation is not the situation itself, but our interpretation of that uncertainty. So my advice is very simple. Be curious. Don't be critical of yourself. Instead of asking, what's wrong with me? Ask, what is this trying to show me? The answer is usually right there. It just needs a different kind of attention. So I believe whether it's growth, success, or leadership, all of this begin from within. But most of what we do is quite the opposite. We focus on how it is perceived by the outside world. And in fact, we try to fit into the external expectations as well. Think of it like maybe a seed and a tree. So when people talk about a tree, nobody talks about its roots. They mention how huge the branches are, how widespread the tree is, or even how fruitful the tree is. But the truth is, all of that you see on the outside of a tree is determined by how deep the roots go. That's true for people, and that's true for leadership as well. The outer growth can only be as strong as the inner foundation. And that's the work I do with people, not on their branches, but their roots. The hardest part of moving out of corporate was not about starting from the scratch, but it was not knowing who I was anymore. Because for 20 years when I worked with the corporates, my identity was tied to my titles, my roles, the organizations I worked in, the meetings I was a part of. And when I decided to step away, all of that went with it. And that was deeply uncomfortable. But what this also taught me is that transformation is an inside job. It's not about what changes externally, but it is about who you are becoming in the process. So I just didn't change my work. I had to meet myself from the scratch. And that is the most valuable thing I bring in my work with people today. There wasn't one single moment, and that's my truth. I spent almost 20 years in the corporate world, and by every external measure, I was successful. But I often found myself sitting with this question, asking, what difference am I making to the world? And to be honest, whenever this question cropped up, my career, my work felt very transactional. There was a misalignment that I could sense, and I couldn't point out exactly what it was. So after spending almost 20 years with the corporate world, because I could no longer answer this question to myself, I decided to move out of the most secure space that I was. I took the decision to step away, not because I knew exactly what I wanted to do or I had clarity of what's my next step in life. But I could no longer ignore that question, that what difference am I making? And to be honest, it's not the day I decided to step away from my secure career, but every day after that, sitting with those uncertainties, figuring out, what is it that I really, really want to do, is what has shaped my journey. Unfiltered, just like the name, is raw and real journeys. And that's exactly the perspective I would like to bring here. Whether it is growth, success, leadership, life, or whatever matters to you, remember that it's an inside-out process. It's not what the world sees outside, but it's how deep your roots go. So the more you focus on who you are at the core, the more you focus on your self-awareness, the more you're able to actually grow on the outside. So much so that there's a clear alignment between who you are at the core and how you show up to the world.